Welcome to this explainer. Before we really get going, I want you to just imagine stepping into a warm, really grounded, quiet mountain lodge retreat space. Take a deep breath, leave the noise of your day at the door, and just settle in with us. Today, we're exploring a profoundly transformative concept from Danielle Body and the Insight for Alignment ecosystem. We are diving deep into Doorway 2, which is all about the invisible conversation. We're going to look really closely at how our internal weather is built, and honestly, more importantly, how we can completely redesign it.
All right, let's jump straight in and anchor ourselves with today's big idea. It's this. The longest conversation you will ever have is the one no one else hears. Think about that for a second. Every single day, your mind is quietly telling you a story. Long before you ever even learned the language of mindset, you were already living inside of one. Your inner architecture was forming quietly in the background while you were just busy becoming a person. And that invisible conversation, it is actively, literally shaping the reality you are living in right now.
So the question isn't really if you're talking to yourself. I mean, we all are, right? The real question is, what kind of conversation have you been practicing? Because that story your mind is spinning, well, sometimes it encourages you, sometimes it protects you, sometimes it criticizes you, and sometimes it quietly convinces you that you are way less capable than you truly are. We need to look at this without an ounce of judgment, because as we're about to see, you definitely didn't start adulthood as a blank page.
Now get a load of this number, 148,000. Some estimates actually suggest that the average person hears the word no, or a close cousin like don't, can't, shouldn't, or stop, more than 148,000 times before they even hit adulthood. To put that into perspective, that is a whole lot of put that down, don't touch that, and you absolutely can't do that during your most critical identity-forming years. We're talking dozens of corrective or limiting messages every single day, year after year.
Now, obviously, some no's are absolutely crucial. Boundaries protect us, for sure. But many of those no's were delivered through a pretty flawed framework. They were often rooted in fear-based control, or maybe someone's projected insecurity, or even just negativity disguised as helpful advice. The people delivering these messages, they probably weren't trying to harm us, but they were just passing down their own inherited scripts. Because of this, we carry a pattern interpretation style. So please hear this clearly. You should not carry a single drop of shame for your current internal weather. You didn't design this architecture, you just inherited it.
And because of that inherited framework, we really have to wrap our heads around a crucial rule. Repetition is not neutral. Repetition actually becomes programming. When the same type of message repeats long enough, your nervous system actually stops hearing it as information and just starts accepting it as absolute truth. What the brain hears on repeat becomes the exact story it rehearses. And what we rehearse, well, that becomes our default operating system. Your words don't just describe your life, they literally design it.
So how does this play out? Well, this programming builds into a much deeper chain of identity. It dictates exactly how a single, fleeting self-talk script travels all the way down into our physical, everyday reality. It's a direct flow. Results come from actions. Actions are driven by thoughts. Thoughts stem from beliefs, and those beliefs are reinforced by that relentless repetition we just talked about. So when our internal narrative is just dominated by hindrance messaging, our self-concept gets shaped by it, quietly, daily, relentlessly. It forms the very root system of our confidence, our resilience, and our sense of worthiness.
And this is exactly why this explainer and the whole philosophy behind Insight for Alignment completely bypasses fleeting motivational hype. Motivation is honestly just a temporary mood. It comes and it goes. You have a great day, then a trigger hits, and bam, you slip right back into the old familiar narrator. Architecture, on the other hand, that is a sturdy structure. We are talking about rebuilding your structural architecture from the ground up so that you have a reliable, concrete return pathway when the storms of life inevitably hit.
Because living in that old, inherited architecture comes with a massive cost. Misalignment acts as this heavy, invisible tax. It completely drains your energy, forces you into this exhausting fear-based performance mode, and just makes you feel like you constantly have to earn your safety. It is draining. Alignment, on the flip side, brings this incredibly efficient, coherent strength. It brings empowerment, presence, and truth. Real alignment happens when your deepest values actually agree with your daily choices, which naturally reduces all that internal conflict and frees up immense personal capacity.
So the solution to all that exhausting is something called neuroalignment. This is the deliberate practice of bringing your nervous system, your thought patterns, and your chosen identity all pointing in the exact same direction. So your life is actually led by alignment rather than just running on autopilot. And I want to emphasize something absolutely vital right here. Neuroalignment is not a way to fix a broken character. You are not broken.
It is simply a systematic return to your true design. It's about finally becoming the architect of your own mind.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? We use the RAIL cycle. First, you regulate and stabilize your nervous system, because let's face it, you can't make good choices from stormy weather. Then you audit. You literally name the specific loop that's running wild in your head. Next, you install a true aligned script. And finally, you lead by taking a tiny but very real proof action. The goal here is absolutely not perfection, no way. The goal is the return. It's about building the muscle memory to gently return to yourself whenever you inevitably slip.
When you zoom in on that daily practice, interrupt, regulate, replace, there is a non-negotiable step smack in the center. You must regulate the body. This is a game changer. You literally cannot mindset your way out of an activated nervous system. If your body feels unsafe, your brain will reject positive thinking as a flat-out lie. Regulation, like just taking a slow, deep breath, signals safety to your body. Only after you regulate the physical body can you actually successfully replace that inherited narrative with an aligned truth.
Which brings us right back to the core lesson of Doorway 2. Repeated thoughts become familiar, familiar thoughts begin to feel true, and what feels true quietly, almost invisibly, shapes exactly how we live. For the high-capacity leaders, the parents, the professionals hanging out with us today, listen, your internal state does not stay internal. It travels. Your internal weather leaks into your communication, your parenting, and your leadership. If your inner architecture is built for pure survival, it's going to interpret normal feedback as danger and everyday conflict as an absolute catastrophe. This is why doing this inner work is so vital, not just for you, but for everyone around you.
So here is your practical application for today. It is incredibly simple, but trust me, deeply profound. Here's the practice. Catch one sentence you repeat to yourself, write it down. Nothing else. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Don't spiral over it. Don't even try to fix it today. Just observation. Because observation is the beginning of every meaningful change. You simply cannot intentionally shape what you have never learned to observe.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought to just sit with today. Why should someone else's unresolved inner world be allowed to become a prison inside your mind? You know, you didn't choose the first blueprint of your mind, but you absolutely get to choose what you build from now on. You are allowed to question the voice that says you can't, and you are allowed to take back authorship of your own mind. Try practicing noticing that invisible conversation today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.